Hello.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
By the way, for me, it starts to feel like a convention. If you enter an international call, it's always just say good morning. That might be the right choice.
Always morning somewhere.
Hey everyone.
Shubham.
Hi.
Okay, so we are on time, so we can start with the Bazel updates from Niels.
Great, thank you. Then we would start with Chris, who will give a short update about the Bazelification of the Python LTE services.
I'm sorry, my internet cut out. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, you can start with presenting the status of the LTE Python Bazel services.
Yes. Just a moment. Hi, I am Christian. I am from TNG, and I will give you a brief update about the state of the Bazelification on the Python front. There were two Python services and the Vue2 modules that were last Bazelified. The health service, which was the health service and the tests were Bazelified, and the PKT tester, which turned out to be that code and was removed. And we had a few remaining tests in the UT modules that were also Bazelified. And with this, we completed all the Python services on Scott's Bazelification list. And we still had a few remaining Python files. So we created also a script that runs on CI that will check every Python file if they are present in a build.bazel file. And this script also found a few files, and we are keeping track of them in this to keep the CI green for now, and we are still working on to resolve these. That's all. Are there any questions?
Then we can jump over to the next topic. Lars, I hope it's okay for you. I switched the list, so I start because you can build on the Bazel YAML file that I will show. So I will just give a quick overview about the Docker files that we are using for the Bazel builds in CI. There are namely two. I hope my screen sharing is showing, but I assume. The Bazel Yeah, thank you. The so-called Bazel base image and the dev container image. The dev container image is used in various places in CI, but also for local development. If people like to, for example, develop in VS Code and use the container feature, or the dev container is also used, for example, in the code spaces feature of GitHub. So, and as I said, these images are used in CI, so the Bazel builds are done on these images. And what we did in the last time is to basically merge these two images because there's a lot of similarity. So what is new is that the dev container now builds on the Bazel base image, which makes the code a little bit more dry. I also wanted to show only a quick overview where we store our images. We are not storing them in the Artifactory. They are stored in the GitHub packages feature. So on this page, we have a couple of images stored, and we have a job that runs regularly and updates these images. For example, the Bazel base image. We have various texts that we use in CI for that one. So this might be an interesting feature for others as well who want to base their workflows on images that are also built in other workflows. Yeah, so only a quick overview. Are there any questions?
Yeah, do we know if like storing these images are costing us something? From GitHub?
Good question, but I can't answer this question. This feature was used before I started, so maybe someone else knows about that.
I think we have a hard cap on how much we can store, and that's the limit, and more storage space would cost. But I'm not, so I think there was already discussion what can be stored and how much can be stored, and there's a limit. But I don't know if that is already costing something or at which service level that runs.
I mean, I'm sure
let's still confirm this. Yeah.
The initial feature is for free. I'm also using this on my free GitHub account, for example.
Okay. But when we create PRs, like with every single PR, we'll have a new image that will be stored here.
The images are only updated if there are changes in the respective Docker files.
Only then, let's say our code, like your Docker file is already in the master branch, then you're building everything. Like if there is a new PR or any new code comes in, will the pipeline will run for building this image or no?
They will be built, but they will only be published from master runs. This is, of course, by design. Also, the reason is the secrets are only available on master.
Okay, great.
Okay, then thank you. And then I will give over to Lars, who will show us the current state of the Bazel remote caching. If you are talking, Lars, you might be still muted.
Let's switch to the next agenda item and we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, then next is NMS updates from Thomas.
Yes, that would be me. Hi, everybody. I'm Thomas from TNG. So you've probably seen that there's a bit more activity on the NMS recently. So we started to clean up things there a little bit. So one of the bigger things that we have done is there used to be this FBC.js core packages that were shared between different projects in Facebook. They are in this archived repository here. And they were copied then at some point into the existing NMS code. But there was no further cleanup, so they were all just placed here and then imported from everywhere. So what we've done essentially is removing everything that's in the FBC.js core and then distributing it, putting it into the right place, removing unused stuff and removing duplicated code. So that is the one thing that you might notice. And then the other bit is more of an announcement. We haven't really started on that yet, but we will migrate the NMS to TypeScript. So our plan is, the reason for that is because the third-party libraries support is really bad in Flow. So we have lots of outdated, manually maintained third-party types there. And TypeScript is much more widely used, and the third-party type support is great. So we want to benefit from that. The strategy for our migration would be to set up Babel so that we can transpile both Flow and TypeScript at the same time. And then we don't have to migrate everything at once. We can migrate it bit by bit. The only thing is then what should you do at the sort of when Flow meets TypeScript, when you import something from a Flow file that is in TypeScript or the other way around. And the strategy here would be if you import from Flow to TypeScript, you should just annotate it with a fix-me annotation. And it would be ignored in the Flow world, because the Flow world is anyhow only weakly typed at the moment. And we will, but on the other, if you do it the other way around, so import a Flow file from TypeScript, then you should create a DTS file for your Flow code. So here's the Flow code, and you should have like a type definition for that, so that TypeScript can import it and has the proper types, so that everything in the TypeScript world is fully typed and we can configure TypeScript as strict as possible. Yep, I think that's all from my side. Any questions?
It's great to see that FBC.js core stuff gets some maintenance. It really needed it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thomas, do you also see like any performance improvement in our NMS dashboard when we migrate?
No, so these are both just static type checkers. So the runtime code should ideally be identical. But all will be all compiled away, and there won't be any difference in the.
So what's the main motivation behind like migration?
Yeah, this is all, the runtime code should be identical.
Yeah. So I was asking, what's the main motivation behind the migration? Because
my network was dropping out. Yeah, the third-party support. So third-party type support. So currently we have checked in here like this flow type. If you can find this, everything's pounded here. But the third-party types that we have here are very like outdated. And if you see with the version numbers here, they are like not even accurate to a version. So I think we're still using, for instance, Material UI version 1 types that we've patched ourselves a little bit. And there's no, so for TypeScript, most of the big third-party libraries come bundled with TypeScript today because they are mostly written in TypeScript. And then there's a huge repository with types for every imaginable library. For flow type, there's a lot worse. So there are just no newer types for Material UI. So we have to maintain them ourselves, basically, if we want to have up-to-date types. So that's the main motivation.
Okay. Good. And do you think in how much time we can migrate from entire like NMS? How much time it will take?
I think it would take at least a month or maybe a bit longer. So 6 weeks, hopefully. So it's very similar. And there are even tools that can automatically convert your code, but it's not perfect what the tools do. So you have to tweak it a bit by hand afterwards. And so we see with the strategy would be that we go by sort of page. So there's this views directory here where sort of the big sections are, and we will migrate one section at a time to limit sort of the intersections where the types become weak. And then another big batch will just be the server, which is very small.
Great, great.
Any more questions? Then maybe Lars can try again.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, great.
Yeah.
See if it's still working.
Okay, again, this is a short presentation about the current state of the Bazel remote cache that we use on CI.
Yes. Right. So we deployed the Bazel remote cache recently on Magma AWS infrastructure, but so far we haven't been using it in the CI. And now the first workflow that we've switched over is the Bazel Workflow, where we build all Bazel targets and carry out all the unit tests. And we inserted this little script here in every step that uses Bazel commands, and this will configure the remote caches. And now if we look at some CI runs of Bazel build and test, for example, the scheduled one, then if we go, for example, to the Bazel build job and the build step, you can see in the logging that the remote cache is configured here. And if you look at the output in the end, you see that basically, so these internal steps here, they are just linking operations. They cannot be cached, but everything else was cached now, and build time was in this case 400 seconds or so. And yeah, and we're planning to switch over the other Bazel related workflows soon. Right, any questions? Otherwise, you can also ask Bazel related questions in the Bazel Slack channel.
Great, thanks. Okay, so next we have 5G updates from Daljit.
Hi, good morning all. I'll share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So this is the update for Magma 5G SA project. This is the feature we are targeting for 1.8 release, and there are various categories here. The feature which are ready for release, 3 of them, and 1 feature is still in development. This is very much getting close. We have 1 feature under review, GTP extension header support. So it will be by next week. We are targeting to get it completed. 1.8 feature under testing. We have 3 features under testing: 5G QoS, network initiator, session modification. Very similar issues we are dealing with that. So those PRs are ready, and they will be getting merged in. We are targeting next week, so we'll see how it goes. IPv6 is just a testing task from our side, so the team is working on it. And parallel for 1.8 release plan, team is working on scale testing for 1.8, and the re-alignment testing and the AVOT regression testing, the adding new feature, plus making sure the master branch is stable with that. This is the hardening regression testing features. The issues which got resolved. There is around 5 Gen have tasks got closed, and there are around 6 peers got merged. So this is just ongoing hardening for the branch related to 5GSA. This is the bit more detail on the feature which are not ready for release. So the first one is 5GQoS. There is a peer which is raised for review, and dual this IPv6 we discuss is just mainly testing, but network initiator session modification and 5GQoS is the same peer, merge peer with the related issues, mainly tied up with session modification changes and AMF encoding QoS rules and flows, and there's a NGAP session modification changes and managing the response from GNB and GUI. So these once they get merged, I think that's bring these two features to close very much. GTP extension support, again, the all coding is completed, one peer, a couple of years under review. So we're targeting in coming days. Regression and scale testing. There was one very there defect there, one regression peer. It got merged, and this is fixing a lot of issues related to retransmission. So this looks good now. This is the regression testing result from the CI. So the WL5G, those test cases are running daily basis clean, and a couple of red marks, those are build issues for WL5G, but overall the regression testing looks good. Any questions? All right, so this is very much we have for 5GSA, and then again we are talking in 1.8 release meeting with all the details how the release will be, combined with other features. So that's parallel going. We have a weekly meeting there, and then we are also going to discuss further with all the branching in those meetings related to 1.8 branch. All right, that's very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Daljit. So next we have DevOps updates. So there are a few. First, there are some old Federation Gateway and carrier Wi-Fi Docker images that were on our Bionic base image, but now we have moved it to Focal. So after that, we are facing some build issues, and we are trying to fix it. That can also be due to the Artifactory change. Now we have moved everything from Facebook connectivity Artifactory to Magma core Artifactory. After that, we are seeing, okay, some of the builds are failing. So we are trying to fix that. And we are also in talks with the Red Hat team for bringing in the UBI image, that is Universal Base Image, that will replace our current Docker or Ubuntu base images. So we are still not sure if we'll make that change, because for running the UBI images, we need a Red Hat Enterprise Linux host machine. So let's see how that goes. Also, we are planning to publish Magma components such as Access Gateway and Orchestrator and Federation Gateway to the Red Hat's Ansible automation platform in the Automation Hub. So this is maybe in this year, we will be able to complete all this. And we are also working with the OAI team for building new tests. So we are defining a pipeline for Federation tests, for 5G tests, and all of the things. And regarding the release, we are working with the LF DevOps team for automating the entire release process, because now we have started that every single time with the new release, a new company will come up and take the release process, and it will be very easy if in just a single click they can do everything. So we are just trying to automate all this process for the release. Any questions? Okay, if not, we can move to the next agenda item, that is integration test updates from Marco.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Marco from TNG. and I'm going to talk a little bit about our latest efforts in what we did with the Magma VMs. So right now for integration tests, we need 2 VMs, the gateway VM running on Ubuntu, and the Magma test VM running still on Debian 9, which has a deprecated Python 3.5, and it reaches its end of life long-term support next June in some few weeks. And so well, basically what we did for the last few days, we tried to upgrade it to the test VM to the same Ubuntu version as the Magma VM. We started basically in the Vagrant file for the Magma test entry where we replaced our own prepackaged box from the Vagrant cloud, and we replaced it with a base Ubuntu box, and then basically just activated the correct package repo where I built it onto Tim's pull requests that were merged today. And from that, we basically just hung along and fixed some errors. And right now we do have a running version of it. So on the right-hand side, you see the Magma test VM running Ubuntu 20.04. And the integration tests, as you can see here, run okay. I did some checks, and it seems like they're on the same performance page in terms of passing tests as the old Debian 9. Yeah, we hope that we can deploy it in some time. There's still some things to be done, but yeah, we hope that we can work it out. Yeah, that's about it for me.
This is great. So are we also pushing this to Vagrant Hub?
In principle, yes, this would be our plan, that we package a box and replace the current Magma test VM on the Vagrant cloud.
Okay. And here in the new setup, in the new image, all the tests are working exactly the same, like
as
compared to the Debian.
So yeah, so from what I did just yesterday, all the integration tests work the same as before on the Debian. I mean, there needs still to be tested. I don't want to give 100% update here, but it seems quite well.
Yeah, maybe community can test it, and we can also talk with the Tim to actually push it to the Vagrant cloud. So once it's stable, so everyone can use it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, it's great. Also, another testing we need with this, I've seen this in past, in the system where we are building the image, if we change our base system, sometimes it doesn't work. So we have to test that. So please try this image on different systems also.
Yeah, we will do that.
Okay, great. So next we have release updates. Daljit, will you take it up?
Yeah, with the release update, we had a meeting last time, right? So we are just finalizing the contents of the release. So there's Magma 5 GSA, there are ARM, some features from ARM. We don't have any additional new feature came in, but I think this is open in 1.8 discussion with the release meeting discussion. If anything else need to be released, and then we discuss about documentation. Any feature goes in, it has to have proper documentation and plus updates in the release notes. And then we are discussing about the branch, which is in next few days, where we'll close on that. And the way we understand, by next week, most of the PEs which are target for 1.8 features so far, they will be merged to the master, and then we will be creating a release branch. This is very much high level we are with the release.
Great. Then any questions for release? Okay, then we can move on to the security updates from Lupus.
Hello, good morning. So I'm going to cover vulnerabilities that we expect to have in 1.8, unless we fix them. But the important thing is to be aware of what we have. In particular, I'm going to look at Dependabot alerts. So there's 35 open right now, which is actually pretty good. We closed quite a few. And I'm going to talk about the biggest sources of vulnerabilities. The best way to see this is by going to the package dropdown, where you'll see that Helm is giving us 7, Container D5, and I forget what this is, but another 5. These scatterings are kind of much tougher to get to. So this Helm item has 7 issues, 7 advisories, basically. These are related to a variety of Helm versions. The lowest version that would cover all of these is 3.6.1. The latest version of Helm is 3.10.1, and it's usually best to go to the latest that you can get to. The automated update didn't work. So what that means is that there's some, more complex kind of fussing around to get it to work. If somebody wants to take this on, it'd be a great little project that'd be very fruitful. And this would probably be the single most impactful piece of vulnerability related engineering that's out there. After this, there is the Container D item. I haven't written an issue on this because I doubt it'll get fixed right away. That's it. I think the most important thing is to be aware of what we have. And if anybody wants to jump on that Helm issue, it would be productive. Thank you.
Yeah, regarding the Helm issues, we have Helm charts, but the developer who is actually deploying the charts on like anywhere, they get to choose the Helm version, I guess, right?
That is right. So if anybody's actually working on it directly, they're in the right position to do the upgrade. But the general best policy is to go to the most recent non-breaking change.
Okay, so in what we can do, in our documentation, we have a link for Helm, downloading the Helm. So we can update that if that link is old. That is one. Regarding the Container D, we don't have the choice if we are using public cloud, because now Kubernetes by default is using Container D. Now they have abandoned the Docker project, but there are many different flavors of Kubernetes that can use Docker, that can use Container D or any other project. So what we can suggest is use the latest version of the Kubernetes. We can test it on, okay, on this version our orchestrator works, then yeah, we can release it. And we can also update the Kubernetes version on our Terraform chart. So community is actually by default picking up the latest stable version.
I will look at the documentation and thank you for that kind of pointer.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Lucas? Okay, if not, so we have some time left. If someone want to bring something up, please feel free. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.